Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Player Engage podcast. Today, we are joined by Patrick Jesseman. He is the founder of Alkemi Labz, and I'm really excited because they're building a really cool game that I'm excited to start talking about and being able to hear his side of it. He's been in creating different types of assets, from videos to all different types of visuals for years now. So again, we're going to dive into kind of both the media side of things as well as the gaming side of things. So Patrick, thank you so much for joining me today. We've had a lot of calls, and I'm excited about this and learning more. So before we go on, anything you want to say about yourself?
No. I think I'm just happy to be on with you and spread the good news and really make some moves here in Wisconsin, like what we're trying to do.
Yeah, you're building your team. We'll call it a team for now, right? And you'll go from there. It is a team out in the Wisconsin. You're working supporting the Midwest games, and all these different companies and studios out there. And it's exciting to be able to see more areas being able to embrace gaming and teach gaming as well, technologies. So before we kind of dive deep into the podcast, you want to kind of give us a high level overview of what you guys are building at Alkemi Labz and what people can expect.
So it's sort of two faceted, if you will, double-edged, you can call it. So the main thing that we're talking about right now is 217. We are a sort of advanced indie studio. So we work with real high-end stuff like motion tracking and facial tracking and all this kind of stuff that you typically wouldn't see in an indie studio type thing. So we often get confused a lot of times because of the product that we're working with. So 217 is, I guess let's back up a little bit. So my background is in film. I'm a cinematographer and a director. We decided I got with a couple people and we decided, what if we made an interactive movie? And I said, well, I have the perfect already idea from of a film I did before this that I wrote and directed and did all night. So I have all the rights to it. And so they were very interested. And basically what it is it's a kind of survival thriller. I don't want to say like survival horror because it's not really horror like in the way you think of it, like with zombies and all this kind of stuff. There's these two guys, very human. In fact, we use metahumans and motion capture to really bring them to life and voice them and real expressive facial capture and everything. So it's very cinematic, very movie-like. In fact, I know when I showed you, you could see some of the really awesome tools and things we were using to bring this all about. But it's not a game so much in the aspect of like what we think a game to be. It's more of, we're kind of call it a survival simulation. I say it's not really a simulation, but there's no like, one-ups and like extra lives. There's no bunch of guns and anything. The overall kind of synopsis is two guys. They kidnap you out of your house in the middle of the night. This is what they do as a career. And you wake up in the middle of being transported out to this processing kind of horror compound that they have out in the middle of the woods. And you wake up in the car. That's where you first take over the car. First take over the game. And you're able to talk as best as you can and try to flee for your life. And it's just a very intense, intimate situation to which you, spoiler alert, it doesn't really help. So you wake up again at the compound in the back of the car, just as he had stepped out to go get the place ready to come grab you. You wake up and bail out into the woods, and we give you the controller. And at that point in time, until the sun comes up, you're being mercilessly hunted by these guys, and they have all kinds of tricks up their sleeve to come get you. So it's not a game per se like you would think a normal game.
What I love is it's an indie. You're there to say it's an indie, and by the definition of an indie, right, a smaller studio building out a game, it is. But the first time I remember seeing your game, and it was on LinkedIn, I saw this, and it looked like a AAA masterpiece. I mean, you're using tools, you're using your background and your previous assets that you've had to kind of, and the skills that you just had over time to build this out. And I saw this, I was like, oh my God, this looks stunning. And then a few weeks later, you came out with another one. And then we spoke, and you kind of blew my mind when you talked about your team, how you're doing this. Because, you talk about AAA studios, right? And you see all the times that games are, all these new games that are coming out that take 3 to 5 or even longer years to come out. And it's just like, great, I'm going to be playing this by the time I'm 40 something. Like, fantastic. I'm so excited. But like, tell me a little bit about the team that's working on this so you can kind of give an idea of how many people it takes to build a game.
Well, see, I think a lot of times when it comes to development of these games, there's, for lack of a better word, often politics type thing involved, where certain thresholds have to be passed. There's certain quotas that have to be met in order to move the ball forward, and those are kind of overseen by investors and stuff. So I guess the best way to kind of put it, and this is just from my perspective, but the best way to put it is, if you notice all of a sudden they're doing construction work, not far from your house, like in between your house and work, and you see this every day, and almost every time you pass by, there's like one guy working and there's like 7 dudes who ain't doing anything. They have to have that quota in order to get the job in the first place. So they place a bid. My construction company is placing a bid. And in order to do this, we have to meet the certain criteria. So you have to have X amount of employees and this and that. And I think that oftentimes is part of the convolution of the way I see. Now, I could be completely wrong, right? I could just, I'm looking at this from an outside perspective. Again, I'm a filmmaker. The way we make movies is completely different than the way we make games. Although we're kind of trying to change that a little bit. But nonetheless, you will... I believe in talent. I think all the talent is great. I believe in having diversified eyes on the project and different input and all that. I think that's really fantastic. But I think there's a point that you have to get to where it's just unnecessary. Like, this is just simply unnecessary. Like, you can do with a really lean team what typically would take a large team. And that's kind of, I guess, why the perception of what we're doing, that's got to have a big team. And in fact, there's actually, everything you've seen already is only just 3 of us. And in fact, to put the cherry on top, it's me and my 2 sons who are facilitating everything you see. So if you go and you look at the website, I'm sure you'll probably have a link to the trailer or whatever. That's, and I'm not saying this to like brag. What I'm saying is the idea that this would be, that there's no way you could do that. I beg to differ. I just say, take a look at what we're doing. And yes, it is a little bit vague. You don't, that you can't really tell exactly what's going on yet, but that's my strategy. If you are and I know you obviously are into the gaming industry and stuff, you see a lot of indie stuff. And one thing that just came out that I think was exciting to everybody was called Unrecord. And it's like a police body cam photorealist, really awesome. And so they showed some footage of it, and then all of a sudden on the marketplace there's another game just like it, and it's making a killing. And the thing is, it's a small team who's using already available assets from marketplace or from several places. I don't want to call them out. They're great assets, and the team is great. But what I guess kind of what I'm getting at is, if you have a very capable team and you can get to the assets, you can create a very powerful experience. Where we had people before where you had a modeler who then passed it off to the UV guy who did the retopology to make sure that the actual texture artist now, with 3 people in, can do their job, who's then passed on to like land the actual like environment or lighting. And there's like this whole, to me, I think, convoluted process. I tell one of my guys, one of my sons, I say, listen, we need this. And they go, okay, no problem. And they can execute whatever it is that I ask them from beginning to end, and we can use it as a game-ready asset inside. So if you look at the trailer again, many of those assets were made by actually a 16-year-old. So to think that we need these massive teams, and I'm not saying that there's a place for all that. I'm not saying don't do away with Hollywood blockbusters and let's only focus on guys that are filming on their iPhones and stuff. I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is don't negate them. Because an iPhone, and we've proven before with corporate and stuff, we filmed full commercials on iPhones and they've been broadcast television. So it's not so much of what you have, it's how you use it. What you have is important as well. But if you give Pablo Picasso some crayons, he's still going to make a Picasso regardless.
I took a bunch of notes. I love everything that you're saying. I mean, I think that the analogy you just used really clicked with me, right? The fact that I remember years ago watching an episode of House on TV that they claimed was filmed, not claimed, it was filmed on the iPhone. And you've seen commercials filmed on iPhone, right? And it looked exactly like the show you would normally watch, right? It's not different. So you said it that you are almost removing the hierarchy that exists from within gaming, because it's all at times the struggle to get things from one thing to the next thing, because there's a hierarchy above you and everyone's trying to play by the chain. And you're consolidating these steps that these studios will take and slimming them down, making them leaner. And I think that's fantastic. And I want to go into the tools that will help you with that. Maybe we could talk through some of the tools. But before we go there, you're making it leaner, you're making it quicker. That's awesome. On the outside, it all sounds perfect. Everything's going great. And we're going to link to it because honestly, and I'm not blowing smoke to any of my listeners, this game looks phenomenal. Like, it really does. The thing is, what you don't see is that you still do have struggles, right? You have 3 people and you're creating a damn fine looking game, but there's struggles because seeing is believing, but not everyone's going to believe what you're doing, right? So can you talk through some of the it's not really politics, right? But you're talking to different people. What are these struggles that you still face, even with a lean team that can create things fairly quick?
So just real quick, I just want to kind of circle back on what you said. I'm not trying to do away with. What I'm trying to do is complement. It doesn't have to be this way. Look, we can do it this way. And there's plenty of examples that are successful doing it right now. Just wanted to say that. So with that said, again, it kind of goes back to your tool set. What are you using? What are you doing? You could go to the Dollar Tree or something and probably get like a little ratchet set and like work on your car. Theoretically, it's not the most efficient or effective way to do it, but you can do it. Then you have like pneumatic drills and stuff where, they're tens of thousands of dollars, but then the whole thing comes right apart. And then there's somewhere in between. But in that in-between gap, there's groups of people who identify an issue, who identify a hole or identify a problem. Maybe not a problem like it's a bad problem, but hey, how could we make that better? Kind of brings me on to the team at Dash, at Polygon Flow. It's one of the tools that we use. So what was previously seen as either A, just impossible, B, impossible within the time frame you're trying to do, or C, just way too expensive to even contemplate. And because of all those factors, even if you could get your hands on the stuff to try to implement it, this is kind of a very dicey area here. But owning the studio, you can see behind me, we have a pretty strong facility here. We're able to reach out to these companies and build relationships and foster these positive, influential relationships on both sides, and being able to take really cool things. First of all, like Unreal Engine, if you've seen 5, any iteration of 5 is wildly impressive. 5.4 is just, game changer. That's one of the reasons we can do what we do, first of all. So thanks to Nanite, because I'm not a professional modeler. I am, but not to the level that these guys are. We don't need to do that anymore. We convert it to Nanite and it can have 10 trillion tries on it. It doesn't matter. That they won't really do anything. So that really frees up the creative process there. Now you have something like Dash, which is a really awesome scatter tool with AI capabilities, and it just really streamlines your workflow and makes it enjoyable. Not even enjoyable, it makes it exciting to create. And I think you saw that when I showed you just how incredible it really is. You couple of types on something and move the mouse around, and this is wild. So the tools are there. What really is going to need to stand out, and this is where I think AI will probably not be able to keep up with us as humans, is the actual creativeness behind it. What is the story? What is the whole interaction? What is it for me? So it doesn't matter what that is. If you're creating a theme park attraction, a little ride that goes around a little lazy river, and you just look at stuff as you go, all the detail has to still go into the way the lights go on that thing and just what the experience is. And maybe if you go through, oh, that smells kind of like blueberries. Oh, that's cool. And it's all part of the experience. So if you could take these really awesome tools, combine them all to make a really great experience, and then in the meantime, while you're doing this, identify that it's not necessary to have a huge team. So let's explore that. And then we end up putting on a product like what you're seeing and actually creating excitement with it with just 3 of us.
I remember a story from a long time ago that it was always believed that the 4-minute mile couldn't be beaten, that it was just an impossible feat for anyone to run a mile in 4 minutes. And It was just proven. And then I think it was I'm looking it up now, right? 1950s, someone did it in under 3 minutes, proving that even though everyone always thought that this was an impossible feat, that it is possible. You just need to find the right dedication, the right tools, the right people. In this case, maybe it was a specific pair of shoes that helped him run it, right? You're taking a look at all these different tools and taking what wasn't possible, and you're creating your own little, what I'd like to say is like an orchestra of making all these tools sing and talk together. And that's, again, the human element of it. You're not going to tell the computer to draw a Picasso. It's not going to be a Picasso, even though if you give Picasso himself a crayon, he will be able to do it. You're going to need that human element to come in and actually create that story, help that story sing, right? It's maybe you will be able to do it all with AI, but I think you're going to see these generic AI games that are very predictable because it's missing that pizzazz. Once you have that human element, that can't be replaced, right? I think that's what makes a difference. And that's why Patrick and I jumped on a call a couple days ago, and he showed me the tools that he was using. And I am in no way an Unreal 5 developer, but it makes anyone who wants to put any time and effort into it become someone that can create something. And yes, quite frankly, your first game you're going to create is probably going to be crap, but it's going to be something that you created.
Right.
And then you're going to become more comfortable with those tools. When he was showing me these tools like Dash, like it was nuts on how easy he was taking these trees and just creating a forest in front of my eyes in the 10 minutes that we were talking to show me how quickly and easily it was. So
and
I
not just the forest, but paths that meander through and a little lake. I mean, you can do this in like 5 minutes.
And it's nuts. I mean, we're living in this world where AI is starting to take over in different places, right? And I know this isn't necessarily AI in a way, but it's just showing how there's tools out there in almost any position that can help improve your efficiency, make you better at what you do. And I love how you're doing that. And not only that, the thing I love the most from our first conversation was that you're teaching your children this. And having 2 kids of my own, and I know you feel the same way, is that whether or not 217 is a success or is not, your children are going to get these skills that are going to be, for lack of better words, future-proof and allow them to continue to grow in this field. And they're going to be a step above people who are just still doing it, for lack of better words, the old-fashioned way. I don't know a better way to put it. But can you talk about your dynamic with your children? How did they get involved? How do they like working with dad? Is he a pain in the ass?
Well, I mean, I could probably unequivocally say yeah, because I'm not the easiest to work with. I know, because I'm very demanding. I have a mission. I know what we're after. I know how to create excitement. I know how to make wow factor. So to translate that to them is really where it was important for me. Not to teach them how to parrot, but to show them these tools do this, kind of like what I did with you with that. These tools can do this. Now go and play with it. There's nothing you can do wrong. You're not going to blow up the computer. For some reason, we got to reinstall everything from scratch. We'll do it. Not a problem. But just go and experiment, have fun, and see what it does. And to watch them start to, it's like their inner like energy meter starts to rise, as you can just kind of watch over their shoulder as they're doing stuff, and they're wow, oh hey, and now they're talking to each other. They got 2 brothers who are at that age where they, brothers like to fight and stuff, and they're over here, hey, do you see this thing? And look, and if you can again see behind me, so like right here is right underneath the main screen is my oldest. I sit right over there, and then the youngest, his screen is right there. we can project everything onto that screen. So if we're working, we come into an issue, all we do is project onto the screen, and we can all discuss it and help each other as a team, as opposed to trying to figure it out on your own or whatever. So I think us being all in one spot, having a like mind, and then the main thing is to nurture. Okay, so if you go outside and you take a seed, you just put it in the ground, you're like, I'm good for next summer. That's probably not going to work. You have to nurture. You got to water it. You got to fertilize it, and make sure there's no weeds around it, and you have to care for it. And that's the thing with these guys. My whole plan is to nurture their creative talent, nurture their natural ability, and not tell them, no, you're doing it wrong. It's got to be like this. Like, okay, well, I didn't think it was going to be like that. That wasn't my plan, but I'm very impressed. Let's use it. And then you just watch them level up. So to encourage them is like giving them, super vitamins or something, just watching them grow. Unreal is free. Dash, you can try it for free right now. Just go to polygonflow.io and you can download it for free. Along with Unreal, Epic has all kinds of great stuff like Megascans assets that you can get. And you start using all these things. They're free. Start watching some tutorials. There's some really great tutorials out there. And it's unlike it ever was before. So previously you had to go to some school, and then even then it was this very guarded knowledge, and to even get into like, I want to program for Sony or whatever. Good luck. Like, this is just not this is a private club you're not invited to. And Epic said, nope. I want to see how many people out there can do some creative stuff. Let's empower them. Let's encourage them and give them all the cool tools and see what they come up with. So the people who before, their idea is it has to be this way in this order. And Epic goes, nah, it doesn't have to be that way. And then we go, oh, it doesn't have to be that way. Then we start having a little bit of that misunderstanding that you were talking about, where people don't really get it, because there's no way you and your sons created that thing. There's just 3 of you guys. No, I'm not buying it. And that's where the hard sell comes in. I actually have to get them on the phone and show them like what I showed you. Here's why. And then you see their eyes light up and their gears start moving. So I think a lot of it is education. It's awareness. And that's what, people like Ben Cavallo and the team over at Titletown Tech, Lost Boys Interactive, of course, the Wisconsin Games Alliance, AJ over there, awesome guy. So you have all these guys that are teaming up to show that nothing is wrong. There's no way about this. The only thing wrong is all these layoffs. Let's not buy out a studio, get their hopes all up, let them buy cars and get signed up for apartments and stuff, and then just take everything out from underneath them and say, hey, it didn't work out. Let's stop doing that part. But if it takes 20 guys and your team is 30 people and you do, that's fantastic. But if you have a dev team that's one person and she's killing it with her stuff, why would we tell her no? And that's where, like I said, Midwest Games come into place. And Ben says, no, that's not how it's going to be. Let me see what you have. And you should see some of the stuff they have on their roster over there. It's really awesome. So change is starting here in the Midwest. And, it's already, you got down there, the IGA down in Georgia. They're doing awesome stuff as well. I'll be on the phone with him tomorrow. You can see him on podcasts and stuff. So they're teaching from a whole different perspective. So the paradigm is kind of shifted already, and you've either caught up or you haven't. And if you haven't, you probably should. If you have, you just got on the boat. There's 9 million more layers. So every day, these cool tech companies and teams are creating new plugins and new ways to do this and and it's amazing. Sorry, I'll talk forever.
Yeah, no, I love it, and I'm sorry, I've been taking notes as you go, because I just, the thing that you sound like is you're a leader, and a good leader, right? Because you lead by example. And yes, it's your sons, and maybe that makes it even harder. But when you look at a company that's great, you see the CEO leading by example. You see him jumping in or her jumping in when they need to. When they need to do work, they're not afraid to get their hands dirty. And you're teaching, you're showing how you do it, and you're an educator, you're a leader, you're doing all this, and it's phenomenal. And you're doing it in the Midwest, where maybe the gaming scene hasn't been the biggest, but leaders like yourself and Ben, right? You guys
That's
are
going to
working to
change.
build up this gaming scene, right? So can you kind of give our audience, what is Titletown Tech? You talk about them a lot, and you're a big proponent in pushing for them. What is Titletown Tech, and how are they going to help the Midwest become the gaming hub?
So my way of kind of thinking of Titletown Tech is, if do you play like fantasy football or sports or anything like that?
Sure do.
Okay. So just imagine you could roster off like the best guys, right? The best VC, the best management team, just innovators in the way they think. And then you put them all together. And then you take something like the Green Bay Packers and you have them back in it. And then it's backed by Microsoft. And then you take this X-Men alliance and you put them in one roof. That's Titletown Tech. So their roster of companies that they're working with and partners already, they're looking for change. And that's why they saw it in Ben. They see, if you just look at the roster of stuff they're doing, it's really awesome. If you go to TitletownTech.com, you look at their portfolio, you can see that. I mean, it's inspiration. It's what it is. The second you step within this really cool building, and just, it's right in Titletown, right next to Lambeau Stadium. I mean, it's really cool. And that culture that they're cultivating there, but it's very, it's just awe-inspiring. You go in there and you immediately feel, motivated. Like if you have any sort of business acumen at all, it's a danger to step in there, because your gears start going like real fast. So, to have them backing creatives and leaders who are really intent on initiating this change, who have identified where the change needs to be, and they're like, yeah, we believe in you. I mean, it really, I keep saying his name a lot, but Ben is like, the guy's just, he's inspiring to come from, Netflix and 2K and Blizzard, and like, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to change the way that, and he didn't just say it or talk about it. He goes and he brings it to Titletown Tech. Got people like Cordero Barkley, who's like, yeah, let's do this. This is how change happens. This is change in real time. Like put on your shades, because it's about to get real bright in here.
Yeah, I love it. There's I'm going to say there's very few people that actually motivate and actually lead by example. And I have a mentor, Ed, who does the same thing, that when he says something, he'll go out and he'll make the right connections. And Ben is a similar way. It's fascinating to watch someone like that work, because I tell myself, I don't have the guts or courage to do what that person's doing. It's amazing how they're making these networking connections, right? And Ben is that type of individual that's out there promoting, motivating, getting everyone in the Midwest excited about gaming. Like who would think that Green Bay is the place to be to go make video games in the Midwest? And then you told me about Titletown Tech, and when you go to their website, like you mentioned, you have the big glass looking building that's overlooking Lambeau. It looks like, it's just like, wow. And yeah, Microsoft's a big sponsor, right? And you got all these companies. It's just like, wow, they are doing it, and you are a part of it as well, right? And you're coming from your film background, right? And I'm curious, how does the film background help you when you make this transition? And the second part of that question will be, what new skill sets did you need to teach yourself coming into gaming?
So I think all this comes from identification, really. And kind of, again, circling back to like Ben again, identifying whatever it is, identifying a way to make it better, identifying a deficiency, identifying that there's too much and we need to back down a little bit. Whatever, it's identification. Identification is very important. So when kind of transferring over from film, to kind of go back to that answer, I was looking for, the yellow book. It says like transitioning from film to games for dummies. It doesn't exist. I tried. I Googled it, and then I'm done. But there was no roadmap for us. So we figured, all right, well, let's be pioneers, right? And who's to tell us no? That's really what it is. You can't tell me I can't do it this way. Because look, and they go, wow, that's really awesome. So again, I think it's really about education and about awareness is very, very important. And that's part of the identification. I think that's why Green Bay is going to be such a catalyst for this change. I mean, let's not be fooled. Down in Madison, they're doing great things, and the Midwest has stuff going on. But I tell you what, Green Bay is I've never been inspired so much, and I've traveled the world. I've worked with some really fantastic Fortune 500 teams. I've worked in broadcast, film, and really great people. I've never been inspired so quickly, especially with ignorance, because my ignorance was, did you just say there's games in Green Bay? No, stop playing. And boy, was I wrong. And to see the change, the active change, not just like, oh, I didn't know that's been going on for 20 years. Oh, this just started. Whoa, the trajectory it's on. This is very inspiring, because when we started working on 217, really it was to change kind of your idea of the way a horror, survival horror type thing works. So instead of it being very game focused, it's sort of cinematic in the way that what if we could just put the camera on you and put you in the movie, and then have all the events that happen around you in real time? And that's kind of the goal of 217. So to approach that was, again, identification. Well, how would we do that? And what's the caveats and the pitfalls? And then what are the escalators up to the right direction? So as we started to look, obviously, Unreal Engine is the base. And the things you can do in Unreal Engine, from not just video games, but I was actually using this in broadcast commercials and stuff as well, which is why I originally started doing it, because it was a tool that I introduced to Visual Alkemi. So Visual Alkemi Studios is our other company where you'll see we do broadcast and motion graphics, which really is how we set up for 217 in Alkemi Labz. We do, motion capture and all this kind of stuff for companies, and my boys have worked on a lot of projects with like big name people and stuff. So they already kind of have it in as well. It's not like we're just, starting off with like, hey, it'd be a really hilarious idea. Like it never was like that. It's, we've kind of been on a mission from the beginning. They've been homeschooled for the majority of that point in their life, but we give them the ability to make the decisions, and they saw this. Another thing too was to bring them to the WGA social. The WGA is the Wisconsin Games Alliance. So if you go there, you could probably put the link up, the WisconsinGamesAlliance.com. You see all the studios involved and what their mission is, and that's also very inspiring. So Ben, who's involved with them, hosted a social at Titletown Tech, which is where we got to actually witness Titletown Tech and get all the goosebumps and all that stuff. But my sons, who are on my team, were invited. That changed their perspective on things. They didn't know that they were as talented or as important to this as they are. But I knew if they could just get in here and rub elbows and see people and see people like Tim Gerritsen from Lost Boys Interactive, or talk with AJ who used to work at PUBG and stuff. This is wow. They get to actually talk with these guys, and that changed it as well. And that was another thing that, again, might as well just make this interview about Ben, but the way that he's just implementing all these changes is it's inspiring. That's really all I can say to it. So to be even part of a change in the Midwest, and to identify, wow, there is the spot where we fit actually really nicely, and we can be of benefit to other people. Yeah, it's just this is a dream come true, the whole thing.
Yeah, I know you joke around about Ben, but I'm thinking the same thing about you. And again, it goes back to how you're raising your children. And we often talk about the concept of imposter syndrome and how we don't really think we're that good at what we do. And when you have two children that are going to step into a room full of gaming veterans, right? What do they think they know compared to these gaming veterans? But they've been creating the latest and greatest and the newest technology. So the truth is they probably have a lot to bring to the table that those other guys or gals don't know, right? And it's just this powwow moment of where you could just knowledge share. And it's just probably like just a gold mine of great information speaking from one another. And I'm curious on, you have two children and there's a lot of different things that happen in games. Do they each find which kind of niche or aspect excites them the most?
Oh yeah. They've definitely identified, from beginning to end, here's the process. And then they can identify what they like the best, and then they can focus on that part. So instead of teaching them in a very linear way, this is what we do first, and then here's what we do second. Here's kind of the workflow. Today we're going to work on this part. Tomorrow we're going to work on this part. And then, Thursday we'll circle back and then, let them kind of try each thing. We'll sit here on the screen up there. We'll watch videos or tutorials or whatever. It's really just kind of sitting back as the leader and watching just how you would with any team. Where's the strong points? Where did they thrive at? And encourage that. Water, again, the nurturing is very important. So although it's kind of important, you guys have to understand every point of it. What's your favorite aspect? Oh, you like to model? Okay, so we need this, and that. You model it. And you like the texture, huh? Okay, so you guys can work together as a team. How about you model it? You texture it. I'll animate it. And then we'll get it in there. How about that? Cool. The older one, he loves the program. He loves blueprints and just thinking the way, just the logic and how it works. And he's just very fascinated by that. The other one likes to do sound and Foley. And so it's really just, again, teach them to identify. Here's all the options. How about you guys identify what you feel works best for you? And then you can see that you can actually do these other things too, where before it was probably very important you had a specific person that only did this and a specific person that only did that. But I'll tell you what, when we were at the WGA, they had on the big screen a game that just got picked up by Midwest Games, and it's called The Floor Is What? And it's this great little game that's getting picked up by Nintendo, and it's a father and son team as well. This is the change that's actively happening. It's not like, hey, if all the planets aligned, we could probably, no. Ben said, watch this. And it started to happen. And watching this ripple, you either get thrown off by the ripple, try to duck, or grab your surfboard and let's ride this ripple and make this really great. And he's just making it for all of us, And then you have people like you who are bringing, again, awareness and attention to what's going on. This is what's changing the industry.
Yeah, and we watched the Summer Game Awards or whatever it was, the Summer Game Show, right? And they showed the top games this year, and half of them are indie games that are coming up by one or a couple of developers, and it's fascinating how these games are shaping up to be. My one caveat would be the difference of yours is it's a very visual, realistic looking game, where some of these are more 2D, or nothing's wrong with that, right? Just
sure.
And it's just a perception of what type of power needs to go into this in order to create this. So, I was hoping maybe you could give us like a quick rundown on your tool set, right? Because it starts with Unreal 5, right? So would you be able to, and again, like an elevator pitch, because I don't know if my audience knows exactly what these tools are, but you mentioned Nanite, MetaHumans. Can you give us an idea of what each one of these tools does?
So Nanite is just a technology that allows us, so previously if we had like this as a model, and you were to look at this with all of the polygons on it, if you were real good at it, it could have like maybe 80 polygons and still be really, really nice. If you weren't so good, you could be like have 1,000,000 polygons and you just have something that as soon as you put in it just bogs it down. Nanite says, hey, listen guys, don't worry, we got you. So they take that thing that has all those terrible polygons that maybe you took a photo scan or something of, and it's just atrocious, and it can convert this to virtualized geometry. It sees this one time, and then we hide that. And then we can duplicate it a bunch of other times, and it will only draw off of that one. This makes it so you can have this really ornate forest or any landscape that you're creating, this environment, buildings, and all kinds of stuff. You can move it around, and it doesn't bog anything down. So that's why it was so fast when we were watching, when I was showing you this, is thanks to technology like Nanite. And Nanite is built into Unreal Engine. So it's just kind of a little tick box, and you can activate Nanite. The only caveat is you have to have a ray tracing GPU. The next thing is called Lumen. Lumen is just a really advanced way to make lighting look just fantastic. So you combine Lumen with Nanite, and you have a really robust start to your journey of creation. Now, you can use stuff that's already built that you have access to, thanks to Epic and the way that they network. Like you were saying, networking is very important. So they kind of bought up Quixel, which is Megascans, and they have a thing called Mixer. So if you can't afford some stuff, Mixer is a way that you create the textures. So there's many different ways to create textures. There's stuff like Substance. Substance is quite pricey. The learning curve is a little hard. Something like Mixer's free, not as robust, of course, but you can actually take the item and then you can start painting actually on the item and put a little bit of rust on the bottom or whatever. And it allows you to kind of get that higher end quality, even though you don't have the higher end money to afford the higher end tools and all of that. So start combining all these things and just put it into a big box. And then everybody jump into the box and let's see what we can create. And that's kind of the idea behind it. So then you have stuff like Dash, which is polygonflow.io. For you guys that are listening, if you go over there, you can check out Dash. They got tutorials for free. You can download and try it out for, I believe, like 10 days for free. They've got tech support and all that. Really, really fantastic. Start messing around with that, combining that with Megascan's assets, and before you know it, I mean, like you're really off and running. So the main part is it's not so much again what you have, it's how you use it. But in this sort of media, and I guess with anything, story, plot, the meat of it is all what's important. Otherwise, it's just like an empty thing that's just bejeweled on the outside.
And I think that's the part that can't go overlooked, right? First
Right.
of all, you're MacGyvering this and in the best way possible. You're taking all the tools you have access to and taking advantage of those tools, which you should do, especially in your place, because you could scale quickly at no cost, not no cost, but very low cost to get started. So anyone that's listening that ever wanted to dabble into these tools, we will link to them so you can check them out. But like the ground or the floor to get in isn't that high. You can get started really quickly and simply and build something, and even use like a chat GPT to be like, hey, help me build an Unreal 5 game. And you know what? It will help you walk you through it. But the story and the plot, right? That's what makes your game special. And that's where you need to tap into your creative side to get something that will be addicting. You can't have AI create fun for you or an experience you want to relive. And I think that again, can't go overlooked. And I think oftentimes it does because people just think, oh, well, it'll just come. If you build it, they will come.
Right. It's really no different than if you have like, just because you have a typewriter, and I know that sounds dumb, like just going back in the day, right? Let's just go back to the 80s and you have a typewriter and you have paper, you got plenty of ink, and you got ample time and your coffee and everything. Doesn't mean you're going to write a great book. Okay. You still have to have that creative inside, and really the typewriter is Unreal Engine. The coffee is, you know, something like Dash that just gets you going. These are just tools, but the tools don't build things. The creator uses the tools to build things. So the tools keep getting more and more phenomenal, but it's now our duty to find out a way to use those cool tools and leverage the power that these highly impactful teams are making on our creative ability.
So you can go into as much or as little detail as you want here, but you know, again, we often hear timelines for games this year anywhere from 1 year to 5 years, maybe even longer, depending on the type of game it is. What from when you started? What is your what were you thinking the time frame would be, and what is it looking like it could be?
So the plan is 2 years from beginning to end. So at the sort of tail end of the first year is to start doing beta testing, and then the meat of the second year is debugging, amping up the assets. One thing a lot of games aren't doing is optimization. Very important. The plan was 2 years. The way our COO, his name is Jason Rose. He's very involved with the whole process and what's going to take. And again, people like Bank Favallo have been very influential in the way that we are positioning our vantage point. It's really about looking at this from a certain perspective. And if you can get perspective from other professionals and implement that, you could position yourself to a really great point. So by using the metrics that were given to me, 24 months, we're at least 2 months ahead of schedule, thanks to these amazing tools. And that's another thing, you know, to sit there and plan, it could go, in our case, just brilliantly, or it could have the opposite effect and you could keep running into problems. Now, one problem I mentioned to you, as the lead developer and everything, I've lost the game 4 times. All of it. The whole thing. I mean, I've had the map and we got AI and they could chase you around. We got just everything that's supposed to, and lost it 4 times. But because of the technology, we were still able to recover. And yes, we are still 2 months ahead of schedule, even losing it 4 times. So that's another thing too, is it's just, we live in a different time.
This is when we start needing sponsors to come and talking about backing up your computer here, but we don't have sponsors. So you're safe there.
Always Control or Command S. Save. Always. At all times, save. Don't lose your stuff.
I have a couple more questions for you here, Patrick, because we're getting towards the top of the hour. But the one I'm interested in most is just because you have, I'm going to say, a strange career path. It's not strange at all. You went from movies to games. So it's not that weird, but like
unordinary.
Unordinary. That's a much nicer word. What do you hate most about the day-to-day that you have to do? And have you learned that maybe you want to outsource it to either your children or someone else? And then what skill set do you have that you'd say you tap into the most on a day-to-day?
So the skill set would be communication, identification, which is why I'm able to lead in the many capacities that I do lead. Because 217 is just one of the things that we work on. Obviously, we have another team that works on other stuff. But 217 is just specifically us 3, and it was a project that I wanted to see really if we could push the limits and actually come to fruition. And yeah, I mean it's been way cooler than I thought. But I guess the main takeaway would be drive. I don't really have something that I don't like every day. I do find stuff frustrating. But I like the challenge. So there's nothing that I go in begrudgingly. And I try to teach them that as well, because you go into it begrudgingly and it's just probably not going to end up very well anyway in the first place. I think that kind of is like the special power. Something is to be able to be that duck. You know, they say the proverbial let the water just roll off your back. Yeah, I attended a big organization for sales, and I was like one of the top sales guys. And one of the things they would talk about was being a rhino. And rhinos, they don't move backwards. Like, they'll turn around and walk the other way, but you can't force a rhino to move backwards, so they don't move backwards. Also, you can shoot them point blank with a 22, and it'll just roll right off them. So we try to be rhinos, is what our point is.
So I'm just, again, love it. I'm taking tons of notes here. Last question I have for you is, how can the community help you, and how can the community find you?
So we're on LinkedIn. That's really about the only social media we're doing right now. Unfortunately, there's a very kind of scary trend where if you show even like a little bit of your game, that could be a curse. Somebody could jump you, or it won't come out right, whatever. There was a game that came out a little while ago called Ill, ILL, like sick. And if you look at that, some of the trailers were just, they were so exciting. And then come to find out, this was all just like really animation done in Maya. So this was just kind of like it could be if we met, and that ruins stuff for people. So Kickstarter, you want to get attention, you want people to see it. It can also lead to bad stuff. So what they can do is they can really go and they can check out Midwest Games. You can go on Steam and you can wish list the games or check them out. Like right now, it's like less than $15. You get 3 of their games, which are really awesome. You can check out the Wisconsin Games Alliance. Go and see what they're doing. Show up to one of these, if you see a developer conference or something, go and show up and support indie devs. That's really how you can help it. It's not just helping us out so much. I mean, I definitely appreciate it, but I think there's a lot that's going to be revealed real soon that I can't really talk about, but that will cover itself. Really, it's about supporting the culture, supporting the movement. If you're in the Midwest, there's really big things going on. And if you're not in the Midwest, say you're like, Willem Deventhal, he's down in Georgia, but they're doing really fantastic things with the IGA and teaching students how to make a game from beginning to end and sell it and all this stuff. This is, it's just a different time that we're in. So supporting us would be to go and support indie games and that we're just part of that movement. You can't really support us specifically at the moment. You can get these cool shirts and stuff that we sell online, and that supports us. But really, it's more about the culture and the movement. Educate yourselves and don't be scared. This is something you definitely can do. Even if you even thought about, it would be kind of funny. Try it. It doesn't cost. Like if you have a computer and you have time, Try it. It's fun.
Patrick, since the first time we spoke, which was about 3 weeks ago, it immediately hit me that your will and your drive is unstoppable. And I was thinking of a good way to describe it. And you just said rhino. And I was like, that's perfect. I wouldn't want to be a brick wall in front of you, because I know you are going to tear down that brick wall and you're going to get through it if you want to. You seem like whatever is in your way, screw it. You're going to go right through it and nothing's going to stop you. And I envy that. You're going to bring great things to the Midwest. I think you're building an amazing tool, an amazing game. And the fact that it's a narrative game, we even go into that, how everyone's building live ops and online games, and you're building a narrative storytelling game, which looks amazing, is exciting. And the thing I love most is that you're an educator and to me, an amazing parental figure. I think it's an amazing thing what you're doing for your kids. And I think you're going to set them up for the best success in the world. And I think no matter how successful your game is, that alone is such an amazing thing that it's amazing, and I envy it. So every time we talk is an educational session for me, and I love it, Patrick. And I will be your biggest cheerleader however I can help.
I appreciate you.
Before we go, is there anything else you'd like to just share with our audience?
You can do this. If you have a dream, you can do it. You can achieve it. You can accomplish it. The thing is don't take no for an answer. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't do it. And plowing through it is part of it. But the other part is, again, identification. What if it's more efficient to just circumnavigate? What if it's either just crawl over it, or maybe like we can just dig a little hole under it. We don't have to necessarily plow through it. But whatever it is, let's make our way around. Let's be triumphant over whatever that issue is, whether small or large. Because I guarantee you, every single person, whether they're working on what we would think of a small project or some, like this is going to change the culture, regardless, it takes perseverance. And there are times where they wake up and it's like, you suck. Don't believe that. That's not true. You don't have to believe that. And surround yourself with like-minded people. It's like you, Greg. I mean, you're making an impact in everything that we're doing as well because of being able to talk to you and the awareness that you're spreading. It's all very encouraging. And again, let it be motivational. Don't let it be scary. You can do it. I guess that's my main word to everybody.
I love it, Patrick. And I'm hoping to be at the MDev conference so I can shake your hand and buy you a drink.
Yeah, man. We'll be excited to see you there for sure.
And I appreciate your time. We'll have links to everything Patrick and I have discussed here, including Alkemi Labz, including WGA Alliance, the IGA, the different tools that he used. We'll have everything, as well as any trailers we're cool showing. Patrick, again, this has been an amazing time. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Best of luck, and we'll be in touch.
Alrighty, I appreciate it. Thanks, Greg, and thanks all you guys for watching. And remember, you can do it. Don't be scared. Just go out and attack it.
Thanks. Have a great day.
You as well.